Yeah, because I think for me, like when I make my music too, I try not to think about how the audience is gonna. Because honestly, when I first started, I thought about that all the time. Like, is this gonna be good enough for everybody?
Right.
Are people gonna enjoy this? And eventually, I realized I'm like, it doesn't really matter what they think. It matters what I think. Do I
Yeah.
think this is good? Because sometimes it's like, because you hear all the time too when you like look at artists' like interviews, right? Like they've been working on their craft for a long time and they didn't really take off until years later,
Right.
and then they've already made a bunch of songs that nobody listened to or nobody liked, and it was just like not the right time for them. You know what I mean?
I wonder though if I see what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I think my challenge to that is, at what point do you know, or is it acceptable for
For the art to be out.
for not just the art to be out, for it to either be, oh, this isn't your time and place, or this is just not what you should be doing because you're not good at it. You see what I'm saying? Because I feel like there are some artists, right, where they are trying and trying and trying, but the quality, right, the quality isn't there. Maybe the vision isn't right. So it's almost like those sometimes maybe overlap.
Okay, I mean, okay,
Right?
so I get what you're saying, because like when you look at some people's art, it might not have the quality. Is that what you're
Like
saying?
the flair. And see, and I guess that can also be controversial, because then that's my opinion of,
Right?
of
Because
the
I mean,
art.
like you could. That's everybody. I feel like art is subjective, right?
Right.
And then I could look at other songs that are like people like, and then I don't. That doesn't mean it's not good. Or if you look at somebody that's super new, that are just making their stuff, and then I'm like, I don't think that's ready.
Right, right.
Is that what you're saying?
I think, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I think there's a fine line between your level of execution and it being out to the audience versus your skill level and it being out to the audience.
I mean, that is a real thing. Like, is your art good enough to be consumed in a I guess in a mass level?
Yeah. And I think sometimes that makes it difficult too, because I've even said it to my husband before. I was like, I just want to do my own thing. I want to do my own art. Right? But then there's always
the trend.
The other side where people start questioning, well, how's that make money? How are you going to make money?
Yeah.
And so you kind of battle between what you want to do, what's going to be best financially, what you realistically have time for.
Yeah.
And sometimes, especially for me, because I get extremely overwhelmed, then you just shut down. You're like, I ain't doing shit now. Like, we're not doing anything.
I think those are two like different conversations though.
Yeah.
When it comes to like if is your art valuable enough that people would actually pay for it.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, that could
then,
definitely
like,
go. You believing in what you do.
Believing in your art itself. When you make your art, is this done? Is this good enough to be out in the wild?
Right.
And I think it goes back to subjective again. Like, do I think it's good enough to be out? Because there's always a point for me when I'm making songs. Like, I would like edit this and add all these things. Like, oh, that's not done yet. And then it gets to a point where I'm like, all right, that's done. And then I release it, and I just kind of, you cross your fingers. Like, you never know.
Right.
Because like at the end of the day, you don't know how people will react to your art anyways. And then when it comes to the money side of it, well, will people pay for this thing?
Right.
I don't know. Like, do you have control over that? Like, I don't
I
think
don't know.
they're really.
I feel like I don't know why, like as you're talking, like in my, like I just want to like blurt out and just be like, well, if you're on this path where you believe in your art and you put it out, you put it out, you put it out, you
Yeah.
put it out, but it's not gaining traction, or you're not gaining an audience, and like nothing is really progressing, like at what point, and maybe that's not a question for us to answer, or you know, maybe that can be a part of a different conversation, but it's like,
Yeah.
at what point does your belief in yourself become more of like a delusion? And I know you said like if you're an artist,
You have to
you
be.
have to be delusional,
Yeah.
but there has to be some point where you do need to stop and bring in some of that, like the reality of it, right?
But then that, I mean, this is totally where like we're going a little bit on the off course now, but then it's like when I think about making art, doesn't matter what it is, videos, photos, music, podcasts, do I think that it's gonna take off? Obviously I do. Do I know when it's gonna take off? I have no idea. Do I know if it's gonna take off? I really have no idea either.
Right.
It's like I want to believe that it's gonna turn into something,
Right.
but then there is no guarantee when it comes to like the creative side of things. Like any business that you make, you don't know if it's gonna be successful.
Right.
But then the alternative to that is like, what else am I gonna do?
Right.
Like I can't do anything else. Like I'm not gonna do 9 to 5. I would just be miserable.
Right.
I'm not gonna do, I just don't have any other options. So I'd rather just like ride this wave even if it never comes.
Right.
Like I just, yeah, like I can't even think about like not doing it.
Wow.
It's like I would never, even if it takes me like fucking years and years and years.
Right.
There is just like, I can't comprehend the idea of just like not doing it.
Right.
So I guess when you said like putting back the reality to it, like, oh, is my art just not good enough? Maybe, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
but if some people like it and some people don't, like, does that matter? Like, I don't know.